Hello, Mouse Planet. Alan DeLinka back with you for show number 32, Fun at Home. We've been away for about a month. The last few Wednesdays, light on Disney news, heavy on world news. So we've stayed clear so far this year, but hope everybody is well and safe. And things here in Florida still proceed forward as they have been under the phased opening plan. New bits and pieces are opening all the time, it seems. We'll talk about some of that today. Disneyland, things got slightly better, I suppose, for folks who enjoy visiting Disneyland this week with the lifting of the stay-at-home order. No sign of when the parks will open just yet, but maybe Todd Pickering, when we bring him on in a few moments, can address where the outdoor dining situation stands out at Disneyland. And we'll talk about what the future holds for both parks, and we'll talk about some Disney Plus stuff. We'll cover Todd's Walk of Fame Wednesday with Winnie the Pooh this week. We'll talk about all sorts of all things Disney, and your comments, as always, are welcome. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, we'll discuss it. We've got no particular agenda this week. I got 4 of the Mouse Planet regulars with me. I've got Todd Pickering, Chris Berry, Greg Jacobs in the holodeck as usual, and Todd King if his connection doesn't keep freezing on us, which is interesting since he said he's suffering a snowstorm down in Kentucky. So we'll see what's what. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for streaming along with us. Adrian couldn't be with us, sends her regards. And Lisa Stiglick Baxter also sends her regards. Or did I get that backwards? Is it Baxter Stiglick? Anyway, Lisa couldn't join us. Adrian couldn't join us. But the 4 Mouse Planet regulars who really wanted to have a show this week are here, and we're going to have the show. So let me bring them each on. Let's start just for fun with Todd King, since his is the connection that's been most glitchy so far tonight during our pre-show warm-up. Todd King, are you there?
I think so, maybe.
I think you're still frozen, but I can hear you. So why don't you turn off your camera and you can be an ominous voice during the show. See that button that says stop camera?
You're a ghost host.
No, I'm the host, but you can be the ghost.
Okay.
All right, turn off your camera. I'm still seeing your picture, which is interesting. I'm going to bring Greg Jacobs on. Let's see what happens. Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? I think I'm
okay. Todd King is still on the screen. I'm going to put you back in the green room, Todd. Figure out how to turn off your camera. Let's bring on Todd Pickering. Todd Pickering, you there?
I am.
And for those who really want to know, Todd and I have been working on a little video project this week, and I want to share a real highlight of my editing skills this week, because one Todd Pickering is okay, but lots of Todd Pickerings, that's the way to go. Just like this.
Hot dogs! Hot dogs!
Ah!
Hot
A little creepy, don't you think? Kinda got more old-fashioned making.
That's
all creepy. Old-fashioned making. Kinda got ignorant there.
Ah!
Yeah, I call that Pickering vision. And Todd and I are working on some projects for his stuff, and he most graciously did an appearance on Gary Meyer's show on video for me one week, on audio for me the next week, and we're working on something hopefully for Gary's show this week. We'll see what we can come up with. Let me bring Mr. Chris Berry on. Chris, are you with us?
Hey, everyone. Welcome.
Chris's connection's nice and smooth.
Yeah,
and let's see. I see Todd's camera's turned off. Todd King's camera's turned off. Let's see if his audio's working. Is the voice of Todd King there? Todd King. I'm not hearing him.
Oh, I thought I heard him muttering for a second.
I was going to say, Todd King's voice is officially in the studio, but Todd is not in the studio. How do you like that? Well,
so sad.
That's the way this stuff works.
He's on Hoff.
And let's say hello to the Kents who've joined us, and Carol Stein. The illustrious Carol Stein is here. Welcome, Carol. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody's happy to see Carol, and I haven't been back to Epcot in a few weeks. Although, if you were watching our pre-show today, I put up just about, I think, every picture I have used in a Walt Disney World update so far in 2021 that I have taken either at Epcot, Magic Kingdom, the walkway from Magic Kingdom to the Grand Floridian, or Disney Springs. And Carol made a 2-second appearance in those photos.
Great pictures.
We got a photo of Carol, and for folks who love Carol's playing, I actually did stream Carol live from Epcot when I was there a few weeks ago. That's still available on our Facebook page and our Twitter page and all those other good places. All right, Todd King, I think, has tried to rejoin us again. Let's see if we get his voice.
Magic. It's magic.
Todd King, are you there? I mean, it's sort of like Larry King has passed away and we can't get a caller on the line.
I can't hear him. I don't hear anything.
Maybe he's preempted by Larry King.
I think Todd's having significant problems. Todd, if you can hear me, I suggest restarting your Chrome and only turning off the camera and not your microphone. We'll see if that works. I'm going to turn him off here. All right.
Poor Todd.
All right, I'm kicking Todd King out of the studio. I mean, it was great that he joined us, but technical difficulties and whatnot. Let us go to the first topic that I wanted to put on the screen here. Let me start. Since Todd's not with us, we won't start with the Star Wars one. I'll start with a Disneyland one for Todd Pickering here. Todd Pickering. One of the things that the Disney Park blog shared this week was the first look at Todd Holland playing with the web slingers in front of a giant green screen for Disneyland. Mm-hmm. What do you think about what's going on there in Adventureland? Not in Adventureland, in Marvel's Avengers campus coming to Disney California Adventure eventually.
Well, you can. I think our fans saw that there was a little furor that you could go into Avengers campus, but there's this weird, right behind Carthay Circle, there's this strange little alcove where they had some carts selling turkey legs and churros. And you can see that web slinger building from that really well, but not much more than you really could from the street. I will say, don't worry, I'm getting to it, but Lisa's book, Joy to the Mouse, is out that you all can get. It is about the holidays at the Disneyland Resort. I took a bunch of the pictures on the front, but Lisa's working on her next book Chris has got Joy to the Mouse, is Disney California Adventure. Okay. And man, she asked me to proofread the Avengers campus and I'm losing it. She found a lot of great info from a lot of sites. I mean, they've published it all, but because of the pandemic, nobody's really reading it or talking about it. And there's a bunch of things that clearly won't happen once the parks reopen.
Well, we spent a lot of time, you and I, at Expo back in 2019, back in the before times, taking a look at the little exhibit that they had on the web slingers. They had the little, I don't know what they're calling those bots. What are they calling those spider bot things?
I know, I still don't know the lingo to all of that yet. They're bots for sure, and you can buy them. That was in Lisa's book, and she said, this is all information I found, but she dug it up a lot of different sites. But of course, the merchandising already. But you could buy those little bots, and I think you can theme them to different Avengers. So Well,
and as I scroll back through the Disney Parks blog entry, we've got the green screen look, although it's super blurry on my screen. It's probably blurry on the stream too. I could play the whole video, but folks can go just check out the Disney Parks blog and watch the video. I'd actually thought about green screening you into that video at some point, but I never got around to it this week. But my guess is based on third-party information I'd heard about a musician who'd been called in to record for it, months ago already, as well as, Disney releasing first looks like this and so forth, that in pretty short order, when Disneyland reopens, this attraction's going to be ready. And then we face, I imagine, the same dilemma that we have here in Florida, where Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is just about ready. I mean, it was supposed to have reopened in the summer and they slowed down construction and whatnot. But when it's going to open becomes that open question of, well, Epcot is subject to a 35% capacity limitation. Are they going to hold a big hoopla and try to get people to, start coming to Disney World while the capacity is still limited? Will they do that in California? It's anyone's guess at this point, but my educated guess is they're going to keep it slow, right? They're going to debut things. They're going to debut things when they need to bring them online. But, when they can't have capacity, when you have this huge demand for something new and you have limited capacity, it's going to be an interesting situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fall
so
50th, maybe.
What's that, Greg?
Well, the 50th is coming up, right? They have to start soon. So maybe in the fall they'll start a big launch when things have calmed down a bit.
Well, and the question on the 50th, and there have been rumors going around here in Florida in recent days, is just how much they've slowed down construction of other things. I've heard rumor that the Tron roller coasters construction has slowed. You can see visible progress outside. We don't know what's going on inside the Gravity building. We don't know what's going on inside the Gravity building over at Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. So it's all interesting what's going to happen for the 50th. I mean, if the president and CDC's hopes are fulfilled and the virus vaccine gets rolled out
Right.
as we head into summer, maybe there will be a 50th anniversary celebration that gets underway during 2021. But
what is the exact date, Alan?
The anniversary of the resort is October 1st.
Oh, it was October.
Right.
And I mean, they even going back to 2019 when they were starting to announce, and this will be ready in time for the anniversary, and that will be ready in time for the anniversary. They never did say when, right? And the earliest one we knew about was that Ratatouille was supposed to open last spring. Last summer, and obviously that didn't happen. The bigger question is, once everything gets to be open, what sort of ramp up marketing campaign does Disney want to do around the 50th? Because it's going to be a big deal. There are certainly articles running I've seen in connection with California about all the pent up demand. And I suppose topic 2 here is, Todd Pickering, the elimination of the annual pass program. What do you think?
Wow. Put me on the spot there. Well, and I also have an article coming out on Friday where I did discuss that. So guess you get it live by watching this here. So technically, by the time Disneyland opens, all the annual passes expired. So there was really no way. I likened it to the name of my article is The Art of Show Business. If you're socially distancing seats in a theater to do a show, which Actors Equity is doing, the union that's at Disney World, not at Disneyland, proud member of, and what they do. If you all have annual passports, not everybody can get in. So there's just no way they could have done the annual passports because we'd all want to be in the first few weeks. So it's going to be a slow rollout, and there will be some new program. And they were doing a lot of different things before the park closed. So I had a lot of friends here. The most popular one was between January and May, you could get a flex pass where you could get into any park, one park only. You could choose, it could be 3 Disney California Adventures, or it could be 3 Disneyland. And you just had to use it up by a certain amount of time.
And that was a reservation-based system, or it wasn't?
It was not a reservation. There were some blackout days, like when it would be Easter break, and there were a few Saturday blackouts, but not many, because there was a certain day that you had to use it by. And of course, it was always known that those last 2 or 3 days when people go, oh my God, I have to use it, would be one of the busiest days.
And here in Florida, they started a different version of a Flex Passport. They called it a Theme Park Select, and the Theme Park Select had more days per year that you could use the pass, except certain parks had specific blackouts. So like Epcot was almost always available. I think there were a handful of dates that were blocked out at Epcot, but Magic Kingdom had more blockouts. Studios, of course, once Galaxy's Edge opened, had a lot of blockouts, and the different passes had different blockouts. And with the reservation system in place, it's pretty clear that's the direction things are going to move here, right? There was all that scuttlebutt online this past week about Disney World doing away with its annual pass program. And that, of course, hasn't happened. What has happened, and it happened way back when things were closed last year, Disney has stopped selling new annual passes. Current folks like myself, I have an annual pass. My annual pass is good into the summer at this point. I forget the expiration date, all the times they've extended it. But the people who have annual passes can still renew them here in Florida. I assume the only people who can't completely renew are the ones who have the Premier Two Coast passport, right? Since that premium priced entity no longer is going to exist in the short term. And we'll see where it goes from there. But the reservation system that's in place actually speaks to an issue I had raised just before everything shut down. And you guys may remember I was a guest on Marcus Lashak's podcast. He's a TV reporter out of Chicago who covers theme parks. And I'd said to Marcus, the balance that Disney has to go for in the wake of opening super popular stuff like Galaxy's Edge and Runaway Railway is that balance between letting people have their money's worth and a full day in the park and enjoying it, and not being so overcrowded that they can't enjoy a day in the park, right? Even with a capacity limit, the parks sometimes feel crowded. And a reservation system in the long run may speak to that. But time will tell.
And just to add real quick, I do think that they're also, nice segue, is that Disney World is doing the reservation sort of system. Well, so was Disneyland, actually, because I did get a pass from my dad. So I think we'll see that also. I just wanted to add that. I think Disneyland will do possibly a reservation type of system. It worked very well.
Well, I think Todd King is now joining us via cell phone because I had suggested that to him. But let's see, because his camera is moving a lot. Let's see what happens. Todd King, are you with us?
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, you are.
That's the most we've heard tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say. Now the only issue, Todd King, is our usual criticism of guests. Turn your phone sideways, please.
This way.
Whoa!
There we go. A little bit more. He's not
This
rotating.
way.
Doesn't do it.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, that didn't work, Todd.
How come your phone doesn't do that?
I guess
Fine.
not. All right.
He
Well,
looks
welcome, Todd King. And since you've joined us, all right, quit it. Since you've joined us, Todd King, let me throw up on the screen here something else that's happening at Disneyland, which you've talked a lot about in our various text sessions lately. The new Star Wars Outpost coming to Disneyland, to the former home of Rainforest Cafe. And I happen to have this picture in my collection from when I was there for Expo, when there was a lovely food truck that I very much enjoyed just to the right of these Mickey icons. But Adrian in recent weeks had said those had been cleared away. And, my understanding, Mr. King, is that you really very much are looking forward to visiting that outpost as soon as you can. Oh, he just dropped off.
Give us your answer now, Todd.
All right. Well, then I'll go back to Todd. I'll go back to the other Todd. Todd King. Do you have any sense? I have not followed Disneyland as closely, obviously, as I follow Disney World. Any sense of when that outpost is supposed to open?
No, you'll have to. No, there's no announcement. I read the update. Adrian's update.
With the changes in California to this, Todd has rejoined us. I'll bring him back in a second. With the changes, and you're focused up on the screen, so we're enjoying watching you snack.
I am snacking.
Let me bring Todd King back in since you're snacking. Are you back with us, Todd?
I hope so. I'm sorry.
Maybe not.
I'm being the rebel, thanks to Greg.
Oh,
I was going to say the beauty of live streaming, right? Have you ever had an opportunity to visit one of the Star Wars themed outposts? I know I sent you pictures of the two at Disney World. Have you ever been in those shops?
No, I have not. No, I mean the last time I was at Disney World was Launch Bay, was at the Hollywood Studios.
Well, I was going to say these shops have one of the two shops has existed at Disney Springs for at least 5-6 years already. The other one is newer, so that they have one on the east side and on the west side of Disney Springs. And this one in California, I take it, will supplement the Wonderland Gallery. Is that where they were currently selling stuff, Todd Pickering?
That is correct.
All right. How about that? All right. So
I have to say that I was a little underwhelmed by the one at Disney Springs.
Oh, I'm very much underwhelmed by them. But if you're looking for Star Wars merchandise, not Galaxy's Edge merchandise, of course, in Florida, but if you're looking for Star Wars merchandise, that's the greatest single site location for it in Disney World.
I'd rather just walk around the Tatooine Traders and just I felt there's more atmosphere. I'm not a big Disney Springs fan, actually.
In recent years, Tatooine Traders has had less merchandise because they wanted to open it up for traffic flow. It went through a big remodel not long before Galaxy's Edge opened, and the remodel seemed to remove some of those center racks of merchandise to allow better guest flow through the exit. I mean, when you build a gift shop at an exit, and everybody has to go through it, suddenly you could have traffic issues.
Log jam, definitely.
All right, one more Disneyland topic. Let me throw it up on the screen here, and we'll go back to Todd Pickering because we always love watching Todd Pickering in action. That's not one I wanted to throw up on the screen. I just throw that up on the screen.
I just threw up, but not on the screen.
I was going to say, because we like to throw up. We've got the other announcement from, I think, around the time of our last show, Snow White's Enchanted Wish, the latest reimagination of the Snow White attraction at Disneyland, which looks like, from just the description I've seen, that it borrows some elements of what they added to the mine train here in Florida when they closed the dark ride here in Florida. Todd Pickering, what's your take on the changes that are coming to Snow White's Enchanted Wish whenever that park reopens?
Exactly what you said. I thought that looked. I have not yet gone to Disney World to ride the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Is that the official name?
Yes, you haven't been on the mine train. Okay.
Oh no, I was in Disney World for the 25th anniversary, so it's time. It's time to come.
I
For
was
the
in
50th.
Esper there.
No,
What?
I didn't realize that was your last
Wow.
time there. Wow.
My only time. So I've been on the West Coast.
Well,
so
I've never been in Disneyland. So there you go.
There you go. So we
Trade
need
off.
to do that. I brought that up too in the article. With those new attractions, even that small dark ride. I mean, it could turn Snow White into a Peter Pan sort of queue and a wait. Now.
Yeah.
I love the old ride though that made very little sense and was quite scary.
And it ended abruptly. I always felt the Disneyland version ended very abruptly. It's like, wait, isn't there more?
Well,
No,
it was like
that's-
all the
that's-
scary elements. So it was like it was very light on the happy. And so it's like, and then they lived happily ever after.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Florida version, I always loved that ride. I was one of those guys that wanted to chain myself to the door when they were going to tear it out and put a princess meet and greet in there. I loved that old ride. I thought it was just classic.
Is it gone from Disney World?
Yeah.
they
I
closed-
thought it was with the mine train. I thought
When they brought in Mine Train, they closed it, and now it's a princess meet and greet as Christmas.
Right, and
Yeah,
I've
it was
still
a cool
never
ride.
met I've still never met the princesses in that building. I was going to, what was I at Magic Kingdom for? I was either there for a Moonlight Magic night or I was there for a extra magic hours or something, and it looked like the lines to meet the princesses were short. And it turned out that it was going to be quite a while. The group I was with and I decided, nah, we're not sticking around for this.
Yeah, I've never been in that building since it's changed either. So
none of you have daughters.
I do, but she by the
was too
time
old
they
for-
changed it, she was done. And same thing. She would go, I think, just for kicks if the line was short. But she's
Well,
not
and I gotta put Pickering back on the screen for this. I took a look here at the comments, and I think Dave Kent's got the apt comment here. You can't bring snacks unless you brought enough for everyone.
I sent them. Did you not get them?
He's got booze too.
There's a snowstorm in the Midwest. You'll get them. You can watch this on Facebook a little later and enjoy your delicious snickerdoodles that I sent your way.
All right. Well, there's one more change. This one is coming to both coasts, which means that I'm guessing that we will probably see it here in Florida first. If it's hard to tell because, as Disney announces these various things, they aren't giving time guidelines. Things change at the Jungle Cruise pretty quickly around here, right? Here in Florida, the Jingle Cruise, as I noted in this week's Walt Disney World update, the Jingle Cruise seemingly gets installed overnight and taken down overnight without any ride time closure. The Jungle Cruise update that's coming here is going to involve some new animatronics. At least one of those adventurers on the pole, who are supposed to be skippers, I guess, is going to be animatronic, according to an article by Jeffrey Epstein on D23's website. If you haven't checked that out yet,
and the rest are going to be real people.
No.
That would be cool.
I was going to say, I think they're just going to be without motion.
Real animals?
Yes.
Animaltronics.
I was going to say the real animals are still devoted to Animal Kingdom, although interestingly, I forget if the monkeys, the chimpanzee picture is in this. There's the chimpanzees.
Yeah, they take over the boat.
The article, the interview that Jeffrey Epstein did with the Imagineers leading this change in Jungle Cruise, said they consulted with Dr. Mark Penning, who is the head of Disney Animals over at Animal Kingdom and basically globally for their entire animal program, so that the animals will be treated according to proper behavior patterns, right? So they're not going to go all Mark Davis theming on the animals here. They're going to go just somewhat with, one, as it's pointed out in that article. One, let's see if I can zoom in on that. Come on, zoom in. There we go. One is wearing a skipper's hat. One is playing with the maps. One has gotten a hold of some paint. Now, why the guests? Why I was going to say why guests were allowed to bring paint aboard the Jungle Cruise boat?
the same reason the Howells had 3 years worth of clothes.
Good callback.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the interesting thing, of course, about the changes that are coming to the Jungle Cruise is the overall message that both the Disney Parks blog post and Jeffrey's article gave was that it's to give the ride more of a through storyline. That, the Jungle Cruise ride was always just an adventure before, and now your skipper is going to have a sort of personal stake in some of the outcomes based on the fact that other skippers are going to be encountered, I assume in mannequin or animatronic form around the attraction, and that things that have happened to skippers is going to come into the puns and the storytelling that goes on in the attraction. And it raises the biggest question of all. I saw one finger approaching the lens there, Todd. The biggest question of all, of course, is whether all of these changes then further the legend of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, which ties.
Bring that back.
I was going to say the Imagineer who's on Disney Parks Blog's video had a C pin right here on his shirt, and C does get referenced plenty, and it ties, of course, into the Skipper Canteen, which here's the cross promotion for Jim Korkis's article on Mouse Planet today. Jim Korkis spends a lot of digital ink on that subject in today's article on MousePlanet.com. Go check it out. And C also comes up at the Skipper Canteen. It comes up in, let's see if I got all these, the Oceaneers Club on the Disney Cruise Line. It came up at Auntie's house at Aulani in Ko'olina, Hawaii. It comes up in the Tower of Terror in Japan, involving the High Towers. It incorporates by its story the Old Adventurers Club at Pleasure Island.
Love that.
Is there a connection to the terrace at Anaheim? I saw some reference to a terrace at Anaheim, and I wasn't sure what that meant. Well, anybody got any ideas?
Well, they've right when you exit the Tiki Room, the terrace is open. It's overflow for the Dole Whip, so you can get some snacks like. There's some snacks available, but and then there's a animatronic bird from the Tiki Room, and then you can totally see the Jungle Cruise. So that's where the Aladdin's Oasis was. So it opens up that whole area, that makes it feel less claustrophobic, and you can see the Jungle Cruise go by. So it's a nice addition and relatively new, less than a year old when it happened.
Right, and I did get to visit it when I was out there, and I didn't remember if it had a name. And I'd say to John Cotton, if that's going to be your job aspiration, to be sure to get some padded pants.
Yeah, exactly. No rhino. So have they said what's going away? It is the headhunter guy is going away, and the.
They haven't said that explicitly, and what's interesting about that is, they have talked about, and one of the people that has given quotes in connection with the updates that are coming is one of Disney's diversity chiefs. They would like to be more culturally appropriate throughout the attraction, right. But Trader Sam, of course, has an important role. Well, there's a place I didn't mention at Trader Sam's, right? Yeah. I mean, and there's no announcement that Trader Sam's on either coast is going away.
Where is Trader Sam's at Disney World?
In the Polynesian.
Right. I figured. I love that place. So clever.
And so the interesting question is, of course, what those changes will be. The only obvious change, and I'll throw it back up on. Oops, I threw it off the screen. The only obvious change, of course, is who's going to be stuck on the pole, right? I mean, we've got this guy here who already sort of looks like Joe Rohde-ish.
Yeah.
They all sort of look like Joe Rohde, except for her.
Right there.
Joe Rohde.
But so instead of the characters that have been on this pole since time immemorial, it'll be this culturally diverse group of people, each of whom are supposed to have a backstory, and whether we'll hear about that backstory on each cruise or not is certainly a question. And my guess is that on some cruises you'll hear some stories, and on some cruises you'll hear other stories. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And this scene has changed a bit over time. Yeah. I mean, we had an issue here in Florida, I believe, where the rhino was broken, and so the scene was just filled with hyenas for a couple of years, I seem to recall. But those are the only things they've actually talked about here. More diversity, more backstory, and the chimpanzees taking over the boats.
They have alluded to the boats won't be attacked by the
say again,
the tribe. The scene where the tribe attacks the boats.
Yeah,
they alluded that will be gone.
I'm guessing that the natives kind of going around in the circle. The kind of
maybe that might stay.
I was going to say the narrative here was always that they were doing the hokey pokey. At least
it was the same on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So that's the bi-coastal update coming to the park.
Well, Alan, just one other thing that I was curious about, and I think they said no, the movie's coming out for the Jungle Cruise this year, right? So is the idea like a la Pirates, are they going to try to tie that in with the movie at all?
Well, you're right. The article that Jeffrey Epstein posted said that there's going to be no overt references to the movie that are part of this refurbishment. But the Imagineer that he interviewed did say in one of the internal paragraphs of the piece, but us Imagineers, we can't go without an Easter egg or two.
Right.
So, my guess is depending on how big a deal the movie turns out to be, they may hype that Easter egg or two. Otherwise, it may just be some random prop from the movie that finds its way, or a duplicate of it that finds its way into the Disneyland version and into the Magic Kingdom version.
Right. So no animatronic The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not scheduled as part of this refurbishment.
Yeah, right.
You got to believe. I mean, and poor Dwayne The Rock Johnson, right? you got, and I guess Emily Blunt, to that matter, since we were going to get a Mary Poppins attraction before the pandemic, and now that's on sort of indefinite hold. This movie does not have an opportunity opening in July as it's scheduled to do right now. It does not have an opportunity to be a global $1 billion plus blockbuster,
right?
Because there's no $1 billion to be had in the movie business in 2021. At least before Christmas, as far as my magic 8-ball tells me. If the movie became a global sensation the way the Pirates movies did, Dwayne could very well see himself, showing up. But and you can't blame Disney for always doing that. I mean, yes, the purists always complain, but that's what the purists do. They complain.
They do.
I mean, we don't want to take rock for granted.
Oh, that's like a Flintstone joke.
That's like a Jungle Cruise joke.
No, I was going to say that is a Jungle Cruise joke. All right, so next up on the screen comes here out of Florida. This is a more seasonal offering, so this one's no shock. We've got the earliest posting that they give us on some of the details for the Flower and Garden Festival.
That's
the
my
Flower
favorite.
and Garden Festival. Oh, and interestingly, the Flower and Garden Festival is the last festival that we got full-fledged here at Epcot, because it was the Flower and Garden Festival that was going on back in March when everything closed down. So we're now coming up full circle. Clearly, the horticultural team has worked on the topiaries, because they're promising a full panoply of topiaries around the resort. Don't you like that word?
Wonderful.
I loved it. I wrote it down.
The teacher in me just perked up. Whoa.
They're offering 20 different. Well, and I'll tell you, the student in me was always grateful for a large vocabulary, because my spelling is awful. So usually I could find another word that I could spell that meant the same thing as the word I couldn't spell. At any rate, the things that are happening at the festival are the sorts of things that we generally have expected without the major entertainment, the clinics, the food and wine parties that go hand in hand with these things. We'll get topiaries, we'll get festival kitchens, we'll get some of the additional outdoor gardens. There will be entertainment, but it's going to be the Epcot entertainment. And I guess if Carol Stein's still watching, the good news is the paragraph talks about World Showplace, and it says specifically in the last paragraph, I'll sort of wave the cursor by it. It says the Epcot pianist will be playing a selection of songs of the season. So I guess she plays Summertime over and over again, or Springtime.
You heard it here, Carol.
Strawberry Fields.
I guess Springtime for Hitler's probably not in the offing.
Oh,
right?
I would love if she played that, actually.
See, well, and I say that because even though it's not explicitly a Disney song, I have heard that played on the bus, on the background music, to and from Hollywood Studios, which has always made me scratch my head. I'm like, okay, I guess it is a movie.
Yeah, it certainly is. Wow.
So it's going to be the same old, same old. The two scavenger hunts will be part of it. The Spike's Pollination will be there. The entire festival, which is running, let's see.
Who's Spike?
The butterflies?
Spike is the bee. You know, it does not mention the butterflies.
Oh, I like the butterflies.
And my guess is that's too close quarters for the way Disney's been running things. The second scavenger hunt is the Easter Eggstravaganza scavenger hunt, and that's going to run March 19th to April 4th. The overall festival, where was the date? It starts March 3rd, and it's running to the 5th of July. Because, yes, we celebrate the 5th of July at Disney World. So, yeah, the Flower and Garden Festival should be pretty to look at, pretty to walk around. We don't know what else might debut at that time.
Big fan. Love
it's always been my favorite, and it's the only festival I had ever been here for before I moved here. It's the only one that I happened to overlap a trip here with over all the many years I visited.
Yeah, we've gone a couple of times. My wife loves it, and I love it. It's a great thing to see.
So let's take that one off.
I love the food festival at Disneyland, so that would be fun.
Oh, the food!
Yeah, I was going to say I'm partial to the food and wine one.
Yeah, food and wine is a good time at Epcot. There's no question about it. So,
and the last Disney World news I've got this week is of least interest to me, but probably of a good deal of interest to many. It's that Blizzard Beach tickets are now on sale because on March 7th the water park is reopening. Now Typhoon Lagoon is not. And you know, Volcano Bay down the road a bit at Universal did reopen when they reopened. Oh, and my friend Tim Ellison had chimed in here on the chat that there's a reference to sea at Typhoon Lagoon too, and he's right. Misadventure Falls is over there at Typhoon Lagoon. But there are no sea references at Blizzard Beach, which of course takes its cue from the blizzard that you guys in the Midwest, and I don't know, are you guys getting it out east, up in the New York, New Jersey area?
No, they're passing us, staying south.
And it was no big deal in Chicagoland from talking to friends and family there. They got about 3 to 5 inches, depending where they were in the city. And Todd King, how badly hit are you getting? I didn't ask before.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
In the last 2 hours, I think we've already gotten about 5 inches.
Really?
Well, that's big for your part of the world.
Yeah, and it's supposed to snow for another 2 or 3 hours, so they've already got school for tomorrow.
I'm so jealous. I love snow. I love snow.
So and then when it all melts, you can have your own version of the Blizzard Beach experience.
That's another thing. I have never gone into Blizzard Beach. I've been to Typhoon Lagoon. I've never been into Blizzard Beach.
I have actually only been to Blizzard Beach once, a couple of years ago, when the DVC price. He's waving at us. We'll get to you in a second, Todd. When the DVC price for the premium level annual pass that included the water parks was cheaper than the annual pass that did not include the water parks, I had that pass that year. And I think 3 days or so before Blizzard Beach closed for the season that year, I finally made my way to Blizzard Beach for the first time and rode the chairlift to the top of, I'd like to call it Mount Splashmore, but I don't think that's what it's called. But it's frozen Gusher Falls, something to that. And it's a very picturesque park, but taking the chairlift was very cool because the view from the top allows you to see all the way to Animal Kingdom because, of course, Blizzard Beach is near Animal Kingdom. It provided then views of the construction at Coronado Springs and then views of the construction of the Skyliner. All of these things, of course, you can see in other ways now.
Yeah, it's funny.
Go ahead.
I'm a lifelong skier too, so I feel like I would have gone to Blizzard.
Yeah,
I feel like I would have gone to Blizzard Beach, but I just never made it over there. I love the wave pool at Typhoon Lagoon is so amazing that's just so much fun.
Yeah, I like Typhoon Lagoon better. I think it's better themed. That's again just personal preference, but they're both a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, Typhoon Lagoon to me, because I had never visited Typhoon Lagoon until I moved here and started doing media, and I think the first time I was there was a DVC event. But Typhoon Lagoon to me, after visiting it, I not long thereafter visited Castaway Cay on a Disney cruise that the PR folks sent me on, and Castaway Cay felt to me like Typhoon Lagoon on steroids. Anybody else get that sort of vibe?
Yeah, no, very well put. I think
It's sort of like Typhoon Lagoon in a more natural setting. Still Disney, but a more natural setting and
the natural
bigger.
wave pool and the slides and the scuba diving. Yeah, it's very similar. That's true, actually.
Right, scuba diving's gone.
So Todd King is waving at me. I'm going to put him on the screen because he wanted to talk about Blizzard Beach. Go ahead, Todd.
Well, no, actually, I wanted to know if anybody here has been there when River Country was open, because I went there as a child.
Okay.
And
I never-
we loved it quite a bit, and it was
I
before
will
any
date
of the
myself,
other water
yes,
parks
I
were
was.
open.
You're both there. Wow, good for you. And your
I never
brain
went-
survived. No brain-eating amoebas got you. So
I never went to
Well,
River Country, but
that's not necessarily true. They could have.
that's true. Yeah.
I was going to say
Explain
that could be
everything.
the cause. That could be the cause of all the technical problems
Yeah,
he's
that
having
could
tonight,
explain-
for all we know. But I
Explain
never
I'll blame
did.
that.
I never did visit River Country. I do remember seeing it from a distance when it was open back in the day. I do remember the commercials for it running on the in-room television at the hotel, but I never visited. I've never been into water parks. Like I was saying, I never visited Typhoon Lagoon until there was a vacation club or media event to go visit. But the funny thing about that is I've only visited one other water park in my life, and it happened to be Wet n Wild here in Orlando when my high school band was on tour down here in the mid 1980s. So, I mean, that's the only water park I'd ever visited at any time. And of course, Universal bought Wet n Wild and then tore it down when they opened up Volcano Bay a few miles away.
Oh, is it gone completely? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's the site. That's the site that was going to be their third gate that I think is now sort of on hold. It's not contiguous with Universal. I mean, we could spend hours trying to figure out what Universal's game plan is going to be for how to get guests to their sprawling resort. But I think now that the pandemic has slowed down progress in that resort, we're probably talking 2030 if I were to hazard a guess before that sort of stuff starts to see. I mean, because they were talking the mid-20s before, so now I think that's probably pushed further out because it's frankly going to be a while before the resorts are able to ramp back up, just even from an employment standpoint, right? If the virus were gone tomorrow, all of the resorts in town have laid off so many people. So yes, there are many people who'd love to get their old jobs back, but just rounding up the people and going through modern training and all that, it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight.
Correct.
That's true.
And as the companies clamor for better employees, they may start fighting each other for the better employees, and then finding people to fill all the various roles at all the major resorts around town could get challenging. I mean, that's a positive problem to have going forward, but it's going to affect long-term development in the region, no question.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I think I've covered all of the various Disney Parks news that I had to cover here. I don't see any more over on my other screen, which is what I'm looking at over that way. That way. Yeah. Well, oh, is that right? Tim Ellison says Endless Summer is where Wet n Wild was, and I guess I haven't driven that part of the road recently. Having said all that, I did mention in one of the this and that's in the Walt Disney World update, the neighbor of Disney World, Cypress Creek, is it? Grand Cypress Hotel and Cypress Resort, I think it is. Grand Cypress.
Cypress Creek is The Simpsons again, Alan.
What's that?
Cypress Creek is The Simpsons again.
Okay, so Grand Cypress is the neighbor of Disney World where the Hyatt Regency is, and there's a large golf course. And the developer just announced that they're doing $1 billion resort over there as a vacation home destination and a Conrad Hilton. So, I mean, there are certainly more hotel rooms coming online and vacation rooms because the homes that they're building are going to be rental only, and they're going to have 2 to 11 bedrooms, according to the press release that I was looking at. So we're talking about some sizable accommodations on, I imagine, what used to be one section of their old golf course, if not more than one section of the old golf course. But I've never, other than the Hyatt Regency itself, which I wandered around 20 years ago, maybe more, I've never spent any time over at the Grand Cypress, so I don't really know the property other than that I cross under their golf They have a flyover that connects from one side of 535 to the other that you drive under when you pass their driveway over on 535.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the other good news here in town is that Portillo's inches towards opening. The Chicago and me cannot wait. It's opening, I believe, March 2nd. I've been invited to a media preview next week and a public preview, I think, a week after that. So yours truly is looking forward to putting on some more weight and having some Portillo's hot dogs, because it's been a long time since I've had Portillo's hot dogs. It hasn't been as long, actually, that since I had Portillo's beef, because my folks had friends of theirs give them a gift of some Portillo's beef, which we made in my kitchen when my folks stopped here on their way back north at the start of the winter. Because of course my folks did the reverse snowbird. They went north when winter started.
Smart.
Go figure. Yes. Well, although they have managed to get their first round of COVID vaccines, so I'm happy about that.
Can't get into that.
So with all that in let's see if there's any other comments that I've missed of note on the subjects that we've covered. I don't see any. If folks have other comments and questions, please feel free. But I'm now going to share, Todd. I'm going to share your whole video. All right, your whole 3-minute video.
Good one, I think.
Todd Pickering of our Walk of Fame Wednesdays has a Walk of Fame on a Disney subject, so we thought we'd just share the whole darn thing this week, and then we'll chat Winnie the Pooh for a bit. So let's see if I can get that on the screen. Let's see if I can talk my way through self-directing myself. I will make it full screen. And I will leave everybody's mics up. So if you guys talk, be aware that your mics are up. I'm going to hit play, and everybody enjoy this video. Let's see. I'm going to hit play, I said. There we go.
Winnie the Pooh was born in the year 1926. Okay, just a sec, and carry on. Debuted in the book of the same name, written by Englishman A.A. Milne. The man who drew Pooh was E.H. Shepard. In addition to drawing the silly old bear, he also drew Piglet, the donkey named Eeyore, Kanga and Little Roo, and of course, fan favorite Tigger. A.A. Milne's fictional story was based on his real-life son, Christopher Robin, and his stuffed bear Winnie. Winnie was named after a Canadian black bear at the London Zoo, and a swan called Pooh, whom they met on holiday. Sounds rather dubious. If you would like to see the stuffed animals, they now reside at the New York Public Library. The characters of Owl and Rabbit are actual woodland creatures. In 1928, the sequel, The House at Pooh Corner, was published. The setting of the books is the real-life Ashdown Forest in East Sussex, England. My God, it's rather glorious, isn't it? Splendid. Come along, and now, back to Hollywood. Hollywood, baby. In 1930, Stephen Schlesinger bought U.S.-Canadian marketing rights to Winnie the Pooh. And by 1931, it was a $50 million a year business. This is the Depression, people. In the year 1932, shown here on a board game, Schlesinger added Pooh's ubiquitous red shirt, no pants. Now, in 1961, Disney bought the merchandising and the film rights. In 1966, they made their first featurette, Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. 68 was Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, and 69 was Winnie the Pooh and the Stonewall Riots. Oh, just wanted to see if you're paying attention. It was actually 1974 with Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, and these three were made into a feature. Many more movies followed. Winnie the Pooh's star is in front of Disney's El Capitan Theater. Mr. Pooh received his star on his 80th birthday. Looking good, Mr. Pooh. The voice of Winnie the Pooh for Disney was voiced by actor Sterling Holloway. I also, as a kid, recognized him as Roquefort the Mouse in the Aristocats. And I was confused that he played Kaa, the bad guy in the Jungle Book. He was also the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, and his distinct voice can be heard as the stork that delivers Dumbo in the movie of the same name. But I was quite surprised to find out he did the voice of Flower the skunk in the film Bambi. Who knew? One of Disney's most prolific actors indeed. Pooh fun fact, Winnie the Pooh was published in 1958 entirely in Latin, and it made the New York Times bestseller list in 1960. Latin. Pooh fun fact, Poland has a street named after him in Warsaw, Ulica Kobusia Puchatka. my Polish. Fun fact, Winnie the Pooh is banned in China because there was a meme going around that compared him to leader Xi Jinping.
God.
There's even talk of getting rid of the Winnie the Pooh attraction in Shanghai Disneyland. Oh dear. This is T.A. Pickering for W.T. Pooh, A.A. Milne, and E.H. Shepard. We will see you next week here in Hollywood. Cheers.
Well, and thanks to Todd, we're probably now banned in Shanghai, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. They seriously are it's getting so bad they're discussing getting rid of the attraction in Shanghai because he's that angry about it.
Well, you know, I had one other thing about what they are getting rid of here, and then we'll talk some more Winnie the Pooh. You know, the Hall of Presidents is closed because we're at that point. Now, this photo I actually took 4 years ago when it closed for the current refurbishment, because I was at Magic Kingdom on January 19th and was actually surprised that Hall of Presidents was open, because this photo was taken January 18th in 2017, and it was already closed in advance for the Trump refurbishment. The interesting point that I make about this, before we talk more Winnie the Pooh, is the Orlando Sentinel has called in its editorial for the ouster of the hall altogether. The Orlando Sentinel says, you know, and probably rightfully so, that 5 of the former presidents portrayed in there are slave owners, that many are very divisive on different levels, and that when we talk U.S. history in this country, don't ever cover the sore points, and that by including these people, we're glorifying the sore points. An interesting perspective. I'm not sure I agree that the Hall of Presidents should go. Folks who've read Mouse Planet's updates have seen my opinion, which is that you should never have a sitting president speaking. I have felt this way for 20 years now, that the sitting president represents today. And when you enter into the Magic Kingdom, just like when you enter into Disneyland, you pass under a sign that says, here you leave today, and enter the worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. And the Hall of Presidents may represent fantasy to some, but it's not in Fantasyland. It's in Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom. And I think it's proven divisive in each administration where the sitting president has sat. I mean, it was divisive when Bill Clinton was president. It was divisive when George W. Bush got elected. It was divisive when Obama got elected. And it's certainly been divisive, so much so that Disney was scared enough that they added spikes to the railing, and they added more security when Trump became president and was installed. So it's time to have the role of presidents called, and, you know, Joe Biden can nod his head and wave like the presidents always have, but there's no need for modern presidents to speak. You know, we can leave our favorite founding fathers speaking. We can have the rest of them and even the scoundrels nod and wave. And I mean, they're all part of our history. Anybody else have any thoughts on that before we go back to Winnie the Pooh?
Some of our favorites are scoundrels.
I mean,
no question.
Yeah.
I mean, prior to Clinton, wasn't it? It was Washington and Lincoln that spoke, right?
Well, Washington actually didn't start speaking until Obama became president. Washington is spoken by the actor David Morris, and I believe they hired Morse? They hired him to speak because he had, at around the same time of Obama's inauguration, maybe I want to say plus a year or two before, he played in a miniseries starring George Washington. And so they decided, I guess, that he was the appropriate voice of George Washington. But before that, it was just the Lincoln speech, mostly lifted from Disneyland, sometimes the same as Disneyland's, not always the same as Disneyland's. But it was just the Lincoln speech, and then the rest of the presidents were acknowledged. And then starting with Obama, they had him not only recite the oath, which, if you recall, was amusing because when Obama was inaugurated the first time, they flubbed the oath. And so he had to redo the oath a day or so later, or maybe it was later that day, I forget which, the Chief Justice redid the oath. So to have him saying the oath correctly time after time in the Hall of Presidents was sort of amusing for that reason, if you remembered the history of it. But they had the current president said the oath, starting with Obama. Before that, just gave a speech. Obama said the oath, gave a speech, and Trump, therefore, said the oath and gave a speech. I mean, they've been completely even-handed on a partisan basis.
Right.
We've had 2 Republicans, we've had 2 Democrats, we've had 4 guys that got about 50% of the vote. It's time to retire that tradition as far as I'm concerned. But
I agree.
we'll see where they go. I mean, Orlando Sentinel Dwayne Bevel in the Sentinel and on his podcast has reported that they have confirmed that a Biden figure is being built and will be part of the Hall of Presidents. And of course, Hall of Presidents was an opening day attraction at Magic Kingdom in 1971. But whether President Biden is going to speak or not, that's still an open question. We don't know, and I guess we'll just have to wait probably several months before we find out.
Yeah, I still haven't been inside that building, so
it's a cool attraction just because you're sitting there, and even the people who aren't talking are moving, and it's just I mean, the best of it is it's very cool to look at. They're cool animatronics, and it's kind of patriotic, but I get the point, kind of, maybe update it a bit, talk about modern history, talk a little more truth, at least in the Disney way, and just let the all-stars like Lincoln talk. And
well, and the version that just closed, featuring President Trump's speech at the end, was, I thought, very cleverly done to try to diffuse some of that separation that people have over the various candidates who become president, the divisive nature of the various people. The current version that just closed focused very much both in the pre-show area, in the spiel that the cast member gave before you entered the room, and the first few minutes of the movie, that the Hall of Presidents was Walt Disney's dream. Right. And that was supposed to be the focus. This is why we celebrate America's presidents, why we celebrate America's past. And I thought it was very well done to try to diffuse things. But I think the fact remains that as soon as you bring today into Magic Kingdom, it's no longer tomorrow, yesterday, and fantasy. It's today. And Disney World has 3 other parks that include today. It has Animal Kingdom, which has the conservation message of today. It has Epcot, which has the world today. And when it changes further, it's not going to have the future anymore. It's going to have 3 new sections devoted toward today and the promise of today. And Hollywood Studios, which no longer even really fully celebrates the Hollywood of the past, but as they say, it lets you live your Hollywood adventure, or live your.
That's right.
I can't even remember. It's not a Hollywood. It's live your own adventure, something like that. It's not Choose Your Adventure. That was a book series. Yes. But it's you live the Star Wars life. And I shared on our update this week the pictures inside the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser that Jeff Hall, the president of the resort, had tweeted out or Instagrammed out a few days earlier. You're going to get to stay at a hotel and live the life. And you get to go to Toy Story Land and be shrunk down to the size of a toy. And one of these days, I assume, when things open up more, the new Toy Story restaurant will open.
Sounds cool.
So, I mean, you get to live your adventure. So Magic Kingdom should be about yesterday, fantasy, and tomorrow, not today.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right.
And Todd, I want to know when you're planning on sleeping out in front of the Galactic Star Cruiser.
See.
I'm going to sleep outside of it, in it, and on it, and everywhere.
I was going to say,
start saving your pennies.
I was going to say, if in the unlikely event we get a media invitation to it, when do we start the GoFundMe so you can come down?
Oh my gosh, we'll all pay for him.
I think we'll pay for him and ourselves.
I was going to say, because obviously if we get a media invitation, even if we don't get a +1, I should probably send Todd King to give the best.
You heard it here, everyone.
I said it in a text last week, and you guys didn't fight. But I think if we get an invitation, I think Todd King is our guy for that, because he can do a much better job reporting it than I can. I can tell you about what the accommodations are like and how it fits into the story, and I can share Disney's message. But Todd King can tell you how it actually fits in Star Wars, and I think that's a better story for us to tell.
I'd read that article.
The problem will be at the end of the event when he refuses to leave.
So Todd, where do we? Well, that would be Disney's problem, because he's not going to stay with me, right? Todd, where should folks send the money for your fundraising effort to come on down?
Send it to Chris Berry.
Maybe I shouldn't put my real address out here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll start a post office box.
All right. Let's put Mr. Pickering back in the center square.
Mr. Pickering.
And let's go back and talk a little bit more about Winnie the Pooh and why you chose Winnie the Pooh, other than that he had a star.
Well, that was the main reason. During the
why-
pandemic, with filming myself, I've been choosing cartoon characters because they're colorful and I can put many more pictures on them. I say put Winnie the Pooh in the Hall of Presidents.
No.
Then I would go.
Chris would go.
I was going to say there was. The Sentinel covered it. You guys asked about it in text this week. You know, there is some discussion or rumor that the Muppets were going to become part of Hall of Presidents, and that just to me doesn't make any sense to me.
Winnie the Pooh ran for president, though. I looked for it for this segment, but I had as a kid a Pooh for president picture, and there might be in some old boxes, but I did have a photo album. I thought I had it on, and I did it a birthday. Like my 7th birthday, but you barely see it. But I could see he's holding the sign "Pooh for President," and it was during one of the presidential elections. You know, when Disney first got their hands on merchandising.
No, it was more recent than that. D23 released a picture. I want to say it was from the 70s when it was Pooh for President. But
that's when I was a kid.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
You said when they got their hands on merchandising, and that was.
Well, I mean, shortly after. What did I say in the video?
Because I was paying attention to your video.
66, right?
Yeah. I think it was about. I don't know if it was 76, but I think it was in that area of time.
Yeah, I think it was too.
The Pooh president. Yeah.
Well, it was before that because I was definitely younger because I was like a teen in 76, young teen. But yeah, I was blown away to find some of that stuff out about Pooh, and I did not know. I knew Sterling Holloway was all those characters, but I didn't know he was. Look, you've already got Nanette's donating. This is fantastic. And
Nan is contributing. I've got her on record now. I put it on screen.
Alan will collect
Nanette. I'll tell you where to send the money, Nan. Well, I may see her tomorrow. We'll see.
See? Yeah,
all right. Chris, you're sharing your screen, and all I see is Todd Pickering again.
Yeah, I know. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. I was trying to show.
He just wanted to share me.
Well, I was going to say
Pooh for president picture.
I was going to say if I want to share multiple Todd Pickerings, I just need to go to this button that we shared at the top of the show. It's this one here.
Hot dogs! Hot dogs!
All right, enough of that.
That should be Todd's. That should be his ringtone. So.
Yeah. You guys will definitely answer.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys were talking in the chat earlier amongst ourselves about Winnie the Pooh. Who wants to share some more Winnie the Pooh with us?
I got Pooh.
All right. Let me put Chris Berry in the big box.
Terrible sentence, really. So
I know. I warned you too, and you said you weren't going there.
I know. I wasn't going to go there. I do have my. This is a Winnie the Pooh, the House of Pooh Corner book from 1956. So, which I keep on a shelf. It's got some awesome, wonderful drawings in it. It's one of my favorite little Pooh things. I don't have a lot of Pooh stuff. We were talking about that before.
Is it a first edition or is that just an early edition?
It's an early edition. It's not the first edition was 1920. It says it in here.
1928.
1928. Yeah, and so this is a reprint of the original. I picked this up at an antique shop one day. I was pretty happy about that. Can I share a screen? I have some other cool Pooh stuff from an old.
Yeah, sure. Put it in a Chrome tab or put it in an app and share the Chrome tab or the app. Don't share this Chrome tab, or we see everybody repeatedly.
Share screen.
See everybody
right?
Hot dogs. Hot dogs.
All right.
That's just everywhere.
All right. What do I do?
Because this is Mouse Planet Live.
Am I sharing my screen? I'm not. Am I?
No, you're not. I'm not seeing it in the feed yet.
All right. How about now?
Now I am seeing it. All right.
Okay.
So, okay. Let me add it to the stream.
All right. I say when, and I'll click on stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead and click. We're seeing everything that you're seeing now.
Yeah. So I've got this really cool collection of hinged porcelain boxes.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic.
Yeah, there you go. I got these little. So there's mostly my wife actually. These are hers. So there's an Easter one. There's a couple of Easter ones that we have.
Oh, that one's great.
Yeah, they're really kind of sweet. Little Easter baskets, and and they're all, like I said, they're all little hinged boxes. and I don't know what you're supposed to put in the box, but and there's like a fall one here. Here's Pooh raking leaves, and a winter one where I guess he's delivering a present. And there should be, let's see, we got him on a rocking horse and him on the Christmas tree. And
Fantastic.
the one that I don't have in this article is a real sweet one where he's no, actually this is it. He's sitting there putting on his ice skates to go ice skating. So I've always, these Pooh porcelain boxes my wife and I have collected over the years, and I think they're really cool. I think they're, I'm a big fan of classic Pooh. This Pooh, the vintage look Pooh.
The E.H. Shepard.
Well,
Pooh.
I was going to say, what you're saying is the pre-Disneyfied Pooh.
Yeah. I mean, I like I like the new Pooh too, but I think the vintage one, and when they draw him now as a classic looking character, I always like when they kind of pay homage to that. And I noticed, Todd, I have seen the actual animals at the stuffed animals at the New York Library. If you can ever get to the New York Library and go in there, just to see them, it's very cool just to see, like, wow, that's actually Winnie the Pooh. That's the Winnie the Pooh, and that's the
I will now.
Yeah, it's very cool. They're in the main lobby in a big display case, and it's actually a lot of fun. So cool Pooh stuff. Anybody else have Pooh stuff? I'm drinking out of my Tigger mug, but that's about all I got.
I don't.
I got some real quick.
Shockingly.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything else? We are up on an hour mark now, and usually we sign off after an hour mark. Todd King is waving at me yet again, and I got to say I'm very impressed, Todd.
Yes.
You haven't broken up at least even once. Well, wait, let's see.
Yeah, that's me again.
I know. It's the only way to switch between windows.
I have that book too. It's a great book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
And what is the Tao of Pooh? What are his teachings?
It teaches Taoism, basically using the characters of Winnie the Pooh. So, like, while Eeyore frets and Piglet hesitates and Rabbit calculates and Owl pontificates, Pooh just is.
Mm.
And
Right,
they made a
yes.
sequel to it called
The Tay of Piglet, yeah.
I was going to say, Todd Pickering, back to the pose, please.
Oh, yes. He's going to.
All right.
Honey.
Exactly.
Honey.
Honey.
Effalumps.
All righty. Anything else, guys? Anybody else up to anything else? I'm very impressed, Todd, that whatever device you chose to use has remained stable
Yeah,
the
solid.
entire broadcast since you joined us. So well done.
Anybody running anything this Friday? It's you,
and
right?
your ears haven't fallen off. So there's that too.
So.
Anybody else got anything? Todd Pickering, what's your article coming out?
Friday.
All
The
right.
Art of Show Business. And I will be heading to downtown Disney next week as they open up the restaurants again.
Now, what I didn't ask you before. What has changed with the lifting of the stay? Anything yet? I haven't seen any specific information, but I also didn't go search the Disneyland site tonight before joining the show.
I didn't either. I know what it means though, because I have friends in the restaurant, and it means that restaurants can now do more than takeout. So, I don't know exactly how long. I think Orange County was exactly the same as LA County, which 2 days ago they lifted the ban. So now you can go do outdoor dining, that's what Disney California Adventure has, and most of the restaurants at downtown Disney, if not all of them, have some sort of outdoor dining.
Right. And my understanding, I think from Adrian's article on Monday, was that you could now at least take off your mask to eat for brief periods of time or something like that. That was what they rolled out so far.
Well, it's because of the outdoor dining, I think.
Right.
So, and there's very specific seating areas. Like if you get an ice cream cone, you can, sit down in front of they've got the benches all marked. So,
whereas I'd say here in Florida, when I visited Disney Springs last week, the guests have gotten slightly more lax. I've seen slightly more guests not following the constant recording that says you can only eat and drink with your mask off if you are stationary. I've seen a good number of people, touting their beers and their soft drinks or their churros and walking, and it's disconcerting still. I saw much more compliance at Epcot when I visited Epcot, although, Epcot's got a lot of food and beverage too, and people aren't always as mindful there. In both instances, when cast members saw guests not following the rules. Cast members have spoken up. The Magic Kingdom, I just remember being crowded because all of the queues come onto all of the sidewalks. So like the Peter Pan queue is so long that it comes out of the Peter Pan queue area outside and then into the Columbia House restaurant next door, and then through the Columbia House restaurant and back outside. And some days it goes into Liberty Square. And the Small World queue completely filled up the what's it called? The Tangled restroom area as that heads over to the Haunted Mansion. And the Haunted Mansion queue spiraled its way towards the loading dock for the Liberty Bell. And I've seen reports that they're finally refilling the Rivers of America. So I hope that means they finally finished what all is going on there. Anybody got anything else before
they're actually sending people through the Columbia River House, to Columbia Harbor House?
Yeah, the restaurant. Yeah, when I was there, the restaurant is not open. When I was over there the other day,
that's wild.
There was a cast member at the front door and a cast member at the back door as they were putting people through it to feed them into Peter Pan.
Definitely breaks the theming.
and what's interesting is that Peter Pan's queue time was less than most of the ones around me. I think it was 25 or 35 minutes. Whereas Small World had more like a 40 or 45 when I walked by.
They're just spreading people out, right?
Yeah. I mean, that the downside of the physical distancing is that it means that the queue areas can't hold even the limited crowd, because when you're putting 6 feet or more between each party, you're spreading your 1,000 people that much further out onto the sidewalk.
Wow, wild.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
I think that's it from Orlando. Anybody else got anything?
Nope.
Kentucky. Let's go through Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Snowing.
Okay. New Jersey.
Yeah, I'll put up Lisa's books too. There.
All right.
Lisa, if you're watching.
I've got Pooh, and I don't have.
Long Island.
Yeah, here we are. Read it and weep.
Hollywood.
Hollywood, baby. Just watch Walk of Fame. Subscribe.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for sticking with us through our hour and change show. We will be back one of these Wednesday nights with more. With that, we'll say see you real soon. I'll play our. Oh, we got one comment that popped up, which is have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you,
Liz. Thank you, Liz.
Have a good week. I said
everyone. Be well. Be well. Be
All
safe.
right, guys.
Be safe.
Everybody be safe. Get your vaccine as soon as you are eligible in your region. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.